I put this out on my Facebook page. I'm just going to pin this up at the top just for a little bit anyway. I put it out on my community page. Sorry, not Facebook, on YouTube. And what was the question we put out here? Do men have an obligation to save the West, or should we just take care of ourselves? Let's just put it up on the screen here so I can show you guys. Share screen. Boom, boom, boom. That's it. And 35% of you said, yes, we must save the West. And 65% said, nope, let it burn. I'm tired of the BS. So I'm going to approach this from both angles tonight, just to kind of try to look at it from two different perspectives. And I'll tell you at the end what my perspective is. I know some of you guys already think you know, and you may or may not be right, but I'll let you guys know. I'm going to be taking some call-ins tonight. So if you're a guy with some solutions, I want to hear from you. I'm going to drop the join link. You guys can join in on the cast. Hopefully you've got some solutions to this problem, because it is a problem. I mean, let's talk about the problem first, but you know, we can chop it up a little bit live. Show's going to run for 90 minutes. It might go a little bit longer tonight, because this will probably be a very interesting one, and I'm sure we'll get some good call-ins on it. But what do we got here in the chat from the early boys? We got a super chat early on. Thank you, Rich, for your work. You're one of the most reasonable voices out there. I'm focused on my journey, but sometimes I'm getting distracted by these weak politicians and the decisions they make. Politics is a big part of it too, so we're going to talk about that as well. My boy, Infamous Rifle, says they don't deserve to be saved. My intent is to work on myself and improve my own life. That is the only thing I am in control of. The West has become a decadent and needs a reset. I think we could talk about resetting as well. It's an interesting perspective. So this is a great conversation. I often think about this because, you know, when you're on social media, and it comes mostly from like TradCon, Twitter, and social pages, like I think Ryan calls it like Miller Lite masculinity, which is like, you know, they drink Miller Lite, have a couple of babies, have a work shed in the back, grow a beard, and shoot bows and arrows and maybe guns, you know, from time to time. And, you know, the notion is get married, put babies in her, and save the West. Okay. That is a approach. It's one approach. But does it save the West? Let's talk about the problem. So I think if you're going to go to any one area, because I mean, you can talk about all kinds of different things here. You can talk about economics, schooling, children, you know, the state of masculinity, femininity, you know, these toxic versions of them and all that sort of stuff. But I think the one leading area that is the clearest to look at when evaluating an empire, because, you know, empires have always existed. We live in an empire today. You know, the West is technically an empire, okay? But Roman Empire is a Greek, Ottoman, so on and so forth. They all came and went, okay? They all became big. They all had reach and influence, and they no longer had it. Cyclical, right? These things happen. That's just the way that it works. Nothing's forever. They're either on the rise or they're on the decline. You're either growing or you're dying. You can't be in between. I don't see much in the way of improvement right now. Okay, so the problem as it's defined, you know, as I was talking about earlier, the problem is really things are not good. You know, if things were good, people wouldn't be saying, well, let's save the West. You know, the TradCon Twitter guys, the Miller Lite masculinity guys, there's all these like masculinity groups. I'm going to do that in quotations for those of you that are listening on, you know, the podcast version of this, but there's all kinds of masculinity groups out there that like to sell this narrative, you know, this notion that if you just do the right thing, things will get better, right? And I've said this before, and I wrote about it in my book as well. They tell men and women two totally different things. They tell men, you do what's right. They tell women, you do what's right for you, girl. Okay? Yeah. Rolo's in the chat. Masculinity LARPers. Bingo. So the problem is, and it can be viewed very clearly by looking at people's voting patterns, because people cast votes. I know that there's a lot of folks out there that say that the system's rigged, democracy's broken, mail-in ballots, blah, 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 and all that sort of stuff. It's not working. And, you know, there was underhanded things that happen. I'm trying to water this down a little bit for YouTube. You guys know how it goes. But specific to North America, we'll talk about Canada and the US. I'm not super familiar with British politics as I was in the past, but Western countries primarily consist of, English speaking modern, there's a lot of European countries that are also very modern and Western as well. They would be inclusive, guys like Macron, in France. There's all kinds of these Western leaders that people are voting for, which are not contributing to the ascent, to the betterment of society. And all you got to do is take a look at the state of things, right? What do we got going on here? Trying to catch up on a few of these. Dude is Desi. Hey, Rich, Shaik here. I think the West has forgone so much. I don't know a lot, but this will reverse. Well, stay tuned, brother. You're going to find out. Oh, sorry. Before I forget, I always try to do this to try to just help with the algorithms. If you guys can do me solid, come over to YouTube. Just click this link if you're watching this, like on Twitter or any of the other platforms. It just helps me a ton. Hit the like button just to give it a thumbs up. Oh, that's the wrong one. Did I hit the wrong one? I hit the wrong one. Sorry. That's the Cultivate Crypto one for this one here. Boom. That's it. Click that one if you're watching somewhere else. Thank you. All right. And when you get there, hit that like button. Helps me out. Got 200 likes, 500 change people watching. Hit that like button. Get those likes up. So what's the problem? It's messed up out there. It's a problem because everybody's trying to solve it. And there's two camps. It's let's fix this. Let's mind our own business and fix ourselves. And they both think they're right. If you wanted to distill it down to the two camps, the let's fix it crowd, again, it's the Miller-Lite masculinity guys. It's just, wife her up, put a bunch of babies in her, and we're going to save things. But the environmental conditions that we're living in, because you don't have autonomy anymore as a guy. You're no longer the head of your household. I talk about that in my book in several chapters, The Unplugged Alpha. You can get it on Amazon, as the title of the podcast suggests. The state is the head of the household. And for a very, very long time, men ruled their world. They were the king of their castles. That doesn't exist anymore. The state runs things, and it's gotten itself to a place that varies depending on where you're living, state or province. In North America, for example, I know that's where most of the views come from. Depending on where you're living, there's different things that have been happening that have contributed to the decline that the Miller-Lite masculinity guys are trying to save. I'll give you a great example. One of the things that drives me nuts, lately is I recently learned that a 12-year-old kid, let's put it this way. They can't drive a car. They can't vote. They can't drink alcohol. They can't buy weed. They can't do any of those things that are technically available to 16, 19, and older, kids, or as they turn into adults. But at 12 years old, they can make their own medical decisions, believe it or not, here in Ontario. So the way that the government seems to be leveraging this position is with this whole let's get everybody jabbed narrative because it's better for us. We'll deal with the sides of whether it is or it isn't some other time. But, the government wants to impose their beliefs on you, on your household, on your children. You don't have governance over your own children anymore now. They're going to be putting vaccination clinics in school this fall, I believe. I've seen the writing on the wall. They haven't announced it yet, but this is where I think it's going, which means that they're going to be luring 12-year-old and up, because if you're 12 or older, they can make medical decisions on their own like this. They're going to be luring 12-year-old kids to come and get jabbed because all the cool kids are doing it. Okay? That's a problem. The whole selling point of having children is that your name, your DNA, your beliefs, your values can be imposed on your offspring and passed down into perpetuity. Now the government's saying, sorry, Mr. Cooper, we're going to make that decision for you. And we've decided that we think it's better that we do this. And we're going to pass a law that says that 12-year-olds can make these choices. And then we're now going to offer them lollipops and candy and stuff like that, which is probably, how they're going to roll with it. It's insane. It's insane. And I keep seeing versions of this time and time and time and time again. There was another news piece I saw in the last 14 days. There was a parent, I think it was a mom in Chicago, that a judge unilaterally decided that she was not a fit parent because she did not take the vaccine. And I'm not sure if she lost custody or had reduced custody or if it went into protective services, the child itself. But that's how things roll now. How can you save the West? And I'm asking this question legitimately. How can you save the West if you don't have control over your offspring? Starting with that alone, your kids, because this is what the state seems to be doing. I'm going to put a poll up here as I'm talking, right? Can men save the West? And it's just a yes or no answer. I'm not going to leave it up for too long. So it's those of you that are watching this live. Rolla says you can't solve new order problems with old order thinking. Jimbo's on there. Years ago, I was in the Save It camp, but the Red Pill changed my mindset. And I don't think that that's a doomer approach to it, if I can be honest, right? It's not like, you unplug, you see the code in a matrix and you understand things for what they are. You've read my book, you've read Rollo's books, any of the other stuff that I've recommended. It's not like you unplug and it's like, oh, that's it, it's over. There's still the mental point of origin component of it, which I'm going to be talking about as well, right? Because you do have control over your life. But how do you save the West when you don't have control or influence and people don't seem to want it saved? So let's deal with that part. People don't seem to want it saved because I think that's an important component of it. If you watch people's voting patterns based on what candidates stand for, and here, let me pull up the recent polls in Canada so we can see where we're at here because we have an election going on right now. So this is very timely. Canadian polls. Let's see where we're at. Where are we tracking? Yeah, this is the most recent one that I saw, I think, here. Polling Canada. Boom. Okay, share. Add to screen. Hope you guys can see that. So I'm just going to break these down to describe it for you because we have a few more political parties than you guys do in the US that get tracked in the polls. LPC is a liberal party. CPC is the conservative party. Can we make this bigger? There we go. CPC is a conservative party. NDP is essentially a socialist party. GPC is the Green Party. Global warming, it's save the baby seals. The Bloc Québécois is a separatist party. They basically want to have Quebec separate from the rest of Canada. And the People's Party of Canada, the PPC, is Max Bernier's party, which is more of a libertarian, freedom-based party. So before you go around thinking that you're going to save the West by drinking your Miller Lite, growing a beard, and living in a shed in your backyard and putting babies in your wife, you've got to understand how does your nation vote? What does your nation think of the direction of politics? What does your nation cast a vote for? What is it that they view as the best choice, the best direction? Because all of these people collectively get to decide the direction that things go. And the government's quite clever at this, right? Long time ago, they were small government. You could only cast a vote if you had property rights. So if you're a property owner, you cast a vote. Women weren't able to vote until, very recently. Democracy has been around for a while. The Greeks invented it a long, long time ago. They used to do it with stones. There'd be like a white stone and a black stone, and you take your stone, you put it in a basket, and they, count the stones afterwards, sort of thing. That's how they did the polling, for the electoral stuff. Concept's been around for a long, long time. Ancient Greece has had it for a while, right? So now it's evolved into a situation where government has realized, well, if we have people with no skin in the game voting for policies that benefit them, that they don't contribute to, and I'm saying this, blanketly, on a balance of probabilities, you've got to understand this, then this is where we end up with. And after decades and decades of all this stuff, I'm gonna get to some of these super chats in a second. Just stand by, guys. And after decades and decades of all this stuff, this is where we've ended up, where people have voted. Like Justin Trudeau has won the last 2 Canadian elections, and I'm sure you're familiar with him because I know a lot of people don't like him, and I know a lot of people seem to like him. There's enough people that like him that he is still the Prime Minister of Canada and could potentially win this election. Will he? I don't know. We'll see. But people are voting for his policies. What do his policies include? Inclusiveness, wokeness, inclusiveness, rainbows, inclusiveness, high taxes, ultra rich taxes. You know, let's bend over the guys that are doing the work and creating jobs and employing people and tax them more. And more social programs, more free stuff, more social programs, more wokeness, more political correctness, more censorship, more control, more lockdowns, more jabs, more passports. That's what this party stands for. The only party on the other side of the equation that contributes to saving the West, which nobody seems to vote for. Okay, we don't need more social programs. We don't need more government. Government's important. It needs to provide the function of maintaining the roads, fire services, policing, national defense, stuff like that. You could argue about healthcare and other things kind of in between, but it's gotten to the point where it's overreach beyond that. It's actually gotten to the point now where they're going to do things that are going to potentially conflict with your own belief system, with your own 12-year-old children. You have a 12-year-old kid in school, and they want to jab them, what are you going to do? You're going to take them out of the school system? You can homeschool them. Sure, that's one option. But when are they going to get them? Are they going to get them when they're 15 or 16, when they're 18? You know, it's difficult to say, right? But the polling and what people vote for, I think, is important. And it's not that much different in the United States, you know? I mean, individual states are better. I have a lot of friends in many of the different states. They're very close friends of mine. I know exactly what's going on in their lives and what they think of all of this stuff too. But it's very, very similar in the United States. I mean, overall, from a national perspective, you've got Joe Biden as president. What does he stand for? Pretty much the same thing as Justin Trudeau. Big taxes, wokeness, political correctness, you know, the same sort of stuff that I just ticked off. How is it that much different? Is it much different? But that's what people are casting their vote for. And that's and the governance part of things is what you have to look at. How do you change the governance part of things when only 4% of people in Canada right now, and I'm you know, moving my cursor over the PPC one, which has 4% in the polls, for those of you that are listening and not watching, only 4% of the population is basically saying, yeah, we need more freedom, smaller government, lower taxes, you know, basically get out of my life, government, right? That's generally the angle that you want, is you want more mobility, you want more freedom, and you don't want the government imposing beliefs on you that you don't necessarily agree with. You don't even have exemptions here in Canada right now because of religious beliefs, dietary restrictions. The only two exemptions right now that you have where I live, if you don't want to take the jab or participate in the vaccine passport, is you have to have a proven allergy, okay? And you just can't say, you know, I have an allergy. You actually have to say, I have an allergy, and then it has to be proven by whatever technician tests you for that allergy, and then you have to produce another piece of paper to circumvent the other piece of paper that forces you to get the vaccine. So there's that. And the other option is you took the first jab and you had a bad reaction to it. And again, you have to have a medical professional write you a letter saying that in their opinion, it wouldn't be wise for you to continue taking these jabs because it wouldn't, you know, serve your health. That's it. That's it. There's a lot of arguments out there whether or not it's a violation of charter rights, the Nuremberg Code, blah, 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 and all that sort of stuff. But that's where you're at, right? So for those of you that want to come at this with a solution, because I am inviting people constantly on my show. If you disagree with something that I say, come at me with a solution. What is your better solution? I have not heard anybody attempt to approach this from a different angle yet. Let me catch up on these super chats so they don't disappear up here. Andrews Travel says vaccine is deadly. One world reset. Okay, I'll talk about the reset in a second because I keep hearing reset. Stand by. Until they get rid of the sources that invite hypergamy, men can't save them. Okay, I'm going to deal with this for a second. Social media has ruined dating. So Ryan's saying until they get rid of the sources that invite hypergamy. You want to remove social media, screens, cell phones, technology, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, cell phone towers. Let's say you get rid of all that stuff. Do you think women are going to stop being hypergamous? Do you think women are going to stop considering better options if you remove cell phones? Do you think women are going to stop considering a better option if TikTok and Instagram just blow up and disappear overnight? That's in women's nature. It is a survival mechanism. Read some evolutionary psychology, okay? I've got pinned books. I've got a pinned comment in the top of all my videos. Not a lot of you guys pay attention to this because it's like you watch the video, or sometimes you watch, you see the title and then you're in the comments right away writing a response. You didn't even watch the damn fucking video. Pinned in the top comment, there's a list of useful links. One of them is an Amazon link to books that I recommend guys read. And in there's some stuff with evolutionary psychology. Most of you guys out there running mouth on things like hypergamy don't understand what you're talking about. It's innate to their survival. If women weren't hypergamous, we would not have the society that we have today. If your grandmothers, your great-grandmothers, and all the way down the chain 10,000 years ago were not hypergamous, we would not be here today. Do you guys understand that? It's part of it's a feature, it's not a bug. Okay? Removing social media or platforms or OnlyFans is not going to make it go away. It's just going to give her less access to the attention. That's the only difference. Rich, have you seen Hacking Democracy? It's a must watch. Haven't seen it. Let me know where it's at. If it's like Netflix, Amazon, let me know. Decentralization is the way to go. Yeah, decentralization solves a lot of the problems when it comes to the financial system, which is another broken component of society that I don't see fix. Like, there's no way the government is going to fix money problems. Inflationary issues are huge. There's inherent problems with all fiat currencies, and the centralized nature of it, just like, it's just a matter of time before we move off fiat currency. Is it going to be on the blockchain? That's where I would place my bets, which is why I'm so bullish on things like, Charlie and Miguel teaching people how to acquire cryptocurrency and why it's important. Haters don't like it. Hey, if you hate me for saying that, then buy and hold the US dollar. Robert Kiyosaki was on with Rollo the other week, and that was one of the things that like leapt off the screen at me. If you trust the government so much, and if you think that's the way to go, keep buying and holding US dollars. Okay. I live in California, and currently we have a recall election going on. I would love to see Given, Nuisance, forget, gone. Okay, but who's he going to be replaced by? Because again, add to stream and remove that. This is what people vote for. These are the patterns in North America. We see people voting for socialist and liberalist sort of patterns. Liberalism, Jack Donovan calls it the empire of nothing. He's not wrong. If more people read Thomas Sowell, then we wouldn't be having these. Yep. See, the thing that you got to understand about humans' unpopular movie opinions, the things that you really got to understand about humans. There's a Netflix documentary called How to Be a Tyrant. And one of the things that popped off on that one was that throughout history, for a very long period of time, human beings have loved a ruler. Doesn't matter if it's a high priest, a king, a queen, a god, whatever it is, humans love being ruled. We always have been. And the other day I was watching one of my sailing videos, as I do. It's pretty much all that I'll spend time watching on YouTube now. And they were doing this like tour on the Yucatan, peninsula. And I've been there. I've seen Kobo. I've seen, Chichen Itza and all that sort of stuff. And I've been in the cenotes and swam them all. And they're doing a tour. And it was interesting from the perspective because he was talking about how society at that time, and the Mayan civilization was very, very advanced. If you want to learn more about that, Graham Hancock has some great books. If you don't want to read his books, look up Graham Hancock and Joe Rogan interviews. Guy's a freaking genius. The stuff that he's discovered about society and ancient civilizations is just stunning. But back to the point of the Mayan, civilization, they rally together to build giant stone structures and pyramids. And they've only been tracking hurricanes for, I think, the last 150 or 200 years, if I'm not mistaken. It hasn't been a long time in North America. And there's been a lot of hurricanes that have hit the Yucatan Peninsula, and none of these stone structures have collapsed. They've built them properly, despite what alarmists and global warmists have been saying, like this is all a function of local global warming and all that sort of stuff. They've been going on for millions of years. But the Mayans built these giant, sturdy stone structures around either a king or a high priest, okay, somebody that ruled in that area. People love being ruled, right? People love being ruled. So here we go. Societies come and go, I think. Empires come and go. Egyptians, Greek, Romans, Ottoman, you know, the Mayan, like they all had great ascents, glory, and leave things behind. I don't know what we're going to leave behind, you know, as the West, but you get the idea. You know, reading books informs you. Voting for, you know, a different governor may change things temporarily. But as my old man always, you know, seemed to say, like, the pendulum just swings from one side to the other. It's like boom, 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 boom. Nobody ever kind of like goes and votes for one of these guys over here that run a libertarian party that give you your personal freedom and your autonomy. They just don't. Ask yourself, what are the voting patterns, right? The only way to save the West is stop paying attention to the woke mob, cancel cable, mainstream media. These people have a small minority yet are the loudest. I can't say for sure how many, like what percentage of the population is woke, cancel cultured, you know, the offspring of the Karens, but there's a lot of them out there. And again, the voting patterns tell you. The voting patterns tell you, they just don't lie, right? I can tell you right now here in Canada, the voting patterns for the woke go for the Liberal Party, the NDP, Jagmeet Singh, who I worked with about 10 years ago when I was lobbying on Bill 55, who lied to my face. These people are who they're voting for, okay? And even the Conservative Party in Canada now has been criticized for being basically blue-red, meaning they're like liberal light, pretty much the same thing. You know, they support a lot of the same policies that Justin Trudeau does. So it's not like you're going to see a big change if you vote for the Conservative Party here. Bum, bum, bum. All right. Let's go back here. How are we doing with this poll? What did you guys say? Can men save the West? Yes, no. Pretty much the same split. 57% said no. 43% said yes. Close to 500 votes.